She was just another forgotten child sleeping under flickering streetlights, her stomach growling louder than the city traffic. No one paused, no one cared. But one day, a stranger's kindness changed everything, and the little girl who once went to bed hungry on cold sidewalks now sits in glass towers, signing million-dollar checks. This isn't just a story of survival, it's proof that one spark of compassion can light up an entire destiny. The city never truly slept, but for her, the nights always felt longer than the days. Wrapped in nothing more than a torn blanket she had pulled from a trash can, little Emma pressed her back against the cold bricks of an abandoned storefront. Every night was the same battle, her stomach rumbling, her lips dry, and her eyes too heavy to keep open but too fearful to close. She was only 9, yet life had already stripped her of everything a child should have: safety, comfort, and love. Her parents had disappeared long before she could even understand why. Her father had been lost to addiction, and her mother to illness. With no relatives willing to take her in, Emma wandered until the streets became her home. The footpath was her bed, the sky her ceiling, and the sound of passing footsteps her lullaby. Yet, no one looked down long enough to notice the thin little girl with tangled hair and hollow eyes. Days were worse because hunger gnawed at her every second. She scavenged through trash bins behind diners, sometimes lucky enough to find a half-eaten sandwich or a bruised apple. On better days, she'd beg outside cafes, whispering, "Please," in a voice so faint it was swallowed by the city noise. But mostly, she was invisible. People rushed past her in suits, talking on phones, sipping expensive coffee, never realizing that just a few feet away, a child was learning the hardest lessons about survival. Emma had dreams, though. She remembered watching people through store windows, imagining what it would feel like to have a warm bed, clean clothes, and a full stomach. She whispered to herself that one day she wouldn't just survive, she would rise. But every time her ribs ached from hunger, the dream felt like a cruel joke. Nights brought cold winds that pierced her bones, and she curled up tighter, humming lullabies her mother once sang, trying to silence her own stomach. Once, she went 3 full days without food, and the world began spinning in dizzy circles. She thought she might die on that pavement, her story ending before it ever began. But fate had other plans. On the 4th day, as Emma sat near the entrance of a bakery, clutching her empty stomach, a man in his late 40s stopped. Unlike others, he didn't walk past. He looked, really looked, at her. His eyes softened as if her pain pierced through the armor he wore every day. He handed her a warm bag of bread and a bottle of water. It wasn't just food, it was hope. For the first time in days, Emma ate until her stomach no longer cried, tears streaming down her face not from sadness but from relief. The man asked her name, and when she whispered "Emma," his heart broke a little more. That night marked the beginning of something she couldn't yet understand. The city still roared, the pavement was still her bed, but something had changed. Someone had seen her. And that single act of kindness would ripple far beyond that cold street corner. Emma never forgot the man who gave her bread, but what truly changed her life was that he came back. His name was Mr. Thompson, a local business owner who ran a printing company. He told Emma that he had walked past her for weeks, always noticing the frail child who seemed to shrink into the shadows, but he had convinced himself someone else would help. Until one day, he couldn't ignore her anymore. He brought her meals daily, sat with her, asked her questions about her life, and listened when no one else had. Emma was suspicious at first. She had seen how cruel the world could be, and she wasn't sure if kindness ever came without strings. But day after day, Mr. Thompson proved he was different. He didn't just feed her, he encouraged her. He told her she was smart, capable, and worthy of more than the streets. One rainy evening, when thunder rattled the skies and Emma huddled under her thin blanket, he showed up with something more, a choice. He offered her shelter in a local community home for children, promising that he would vouch for her and ensure she got schooling. Emma's heart raced. She had never been to school. The idea of books, teachers, and classrooms felt like another world. She hesitated, afraid of leaving the only life she knew, as harsh as it was. But deep inside, a voice whispered that this was her chance. She said yes. The transition wasn't easy. At the community home, Emma was surrounded by other children, some kind, some cruel. She felt out of place, like a street rat dropped into a world she didn't belong to. But every time she thought of running away, Mr. Thompson reminded her of the dreams she whispered. He brought her notebooks, pencils, and stories of people who had risen from nothing to greatness. Emma devoured knowledge like she had once devoured scraps of food. She spent late nights studying under dim lights, her hunger now for knowledge instead of bread. She struggled, yes, math frustrated her, grammar tangled her thoughts, but she refused to quit. For every stumble, she pushed harder. Teachers began noticing her determination. Her essays carried raw emotion, her answers carried grit, and slowly, she transformed from the quiet, invisible girl to the one raising her hand with confidence. But what truly set Emma apart was her heart. She knew pain, and because of that, she carried compassion for others. When other kids were mocked for failing, she encouraged them. When someone cried, she comforted them. She never forgot what it felt like to be unseen. By the time Emma reached high school, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She won awards, earned scholarships, and even started small initiatives to help younger children with their studies. Every milestone was proof that the girl who once begged for scraps was now building her own ladder out of poverty. And through it all, Mr. Thompson never stopped supporting her. To Emma, he wasn't just a mentor, he was the father she never had. One evening, as they walked past the bakery where they had first met, Mr. Thompson smiled and said, "You were never invisible, Emma. The world just needed to open its eyes." Those words etched themselves into her soul, fueling her to dream even bigger. Emma's college years were a battlefield of challenges and victories. With a scholarship in hand and part-time jobs to cover living expenses, she balanced long hours of study with endless shifts as a waitress and library assistant. There were nights she fell asleep at her desk, surrounded by books, her head heavy with exhaustion but her heart still burning with determination. She chose to study business and technology because she had seen firsthand how opportunity was created, not by waiting, but by building. She wanted to create something that could not only lift her but also lift others like her. Her professors admired her resilience, but many doubted that a girl with her background could break into the world of high finance and startups. Emma didn't care. She knew she wasn't fighting for approval, she was fighting for a future. During her junior year, she developed a business idea inspired by her own struggles. She envisioned a platform that connected low-income individuals with mentorship, educational resources, and job opportunities. She pitched her idea at a campus competition, standing nervously in front of a panel of investors. Her voice trembled at first, but as she spoke about her life on the streets and how one man's kindness had saved her, silence filled the room. She didn't just present a business plan, she presented her heart. Against all odds, she won. That victory became the seed of her startup, which she named New Path. With Mr. Thompson as her first advisor and mentor, Emma poured every ounce of her energy into building it. She recruited volunteers, built partnerships, and worked out of tiny rented offices with peeling paint and broken chairs. Nothing about it was glamorous, but Emma didn't need glamour, she needed impact. Slowly, her vision began to catch fire. Local communities embraced the platform, schools partnered with her, and soon, corporate sponsors began to notice. Within a few years, New Path wasn't just a startup, it was a movement. Emma became known for her fierce drive, her compassion-driven leadership, and her unshakable belief that no one should be invisible. The girl who once begged for bread was now sitting in boardrooms, negotiating deals, and signing contracts. She still remembered the taste of hunger, and it made every success sweeter. But success didn't come without sacrifice. She faced betrayal from partners, rejections from investors, and sleepless nights filled with doubt. Every time she stumbled, she remembered the pavement she once called a bed, and she rose again. She had already survived worse. Failure was just another challenge to conquer. By her late 20s, Emma had scaled New Path into a multi-million-dollar company, employing hundreds and impacting thousands of lives. She wasn't just running a business, she was rewriting narratives, her own, and those of countless others who once believed they were destined to remain unseen. The boardroom was silent as Emma sat at the head of the polished oak table, pen in hand. Across from her, executives in tailored suits watched as she prepared to sign a contract worth millions. Cameras clicked, reporters scribbled notes, and Emma felt the weight of the moment. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from awe. The same hand that once clutched empty stomachs on cold sidewalks was now signing checks that changed lives. She thought back to the nights under the streetlight, to the rain-soaked blanket, to the feeling of being invisible. She thought of Mr. Thompson, who now sat proudly in the front row, his eyes glistening. She thought of the countless children who still slept hungry, waiting for someone to notice them. Emma signed her name with bold strokes, and the room erupted in applause. But inside, she whispered a promise: she would never forget where she came from. After the meeting, she walked outside to a crowd of reporters asking how it felt to rise from the streets to success. Emma smiled, her voice steady as she said, "This isn't just my story. It's the story of what kindness can do. I slept hungry on the streets, but today, I sign million-dollar checks, and every signature I make is a reminder that no one is invisible, and no dream is impossible." Her words spread like wildfire, inspiring millions. Social media lit up with her journey, students quoted her in essays, and struggling families clung to her story as proof that tomorrow could be better. Yet, Emma remained humble. She still visited community homes, still sat with children, still shared bread with the hungry. Because she knew success wasn't about escaping the streets, it was about reaching back to lift others out of them. Years later, when Mr. Thompson passed away, Emma wept not with despair but with gratitude. She built a scholarship fund in his name, ensuring that countless children would find their way from pavements to possibilities. Standing at the grand opening of a New Path Center, Emma looked at the faces of young children, eyes filled with the same fear and hunger she once carried. She told them, "I was you. And one day, you will be me, or better." The audience roared with hope, but Emma only heard the soft voice of the little girl she once was, whispering thank you. From hungry nights on cold streets to million-dollar signatures, Emma's journey became more than a story. It became a legacy, a living proof that kindness, determination, and unshakable belief could turn the invisible into unforgettable. If Emma's journey touched your heart, remember, your small act of kindness could be the spark that changes someone's entire destiny. Don't scroll past the invisible ones, be the reason they rise. Subscribe to Kindness Vibes for more real stories of hope, love, and transformation. And share this video to spread the power of kindness today.